Thank you, everybody, for coming. I'd like to share a real-world example of how security assurance can be achieved on AWS. Mr. Alexander, I'll call him, is a chief compliance officer from a large global bank and finance company based in the United States. He had a problem. His problem is that his business, recognizing the need and desire to move to Amazon Web Services, left him to figure out how they can do that and, at the same time, continue to meet all the security, compliance, audit, and regulatory requirements that were met by the existing control framework. Get with security and internal audit and figure it out, management had told him. Other requests were manage our risk and don't impede the business as they move to AWS. This is a tall order for a $20 billion company with operations in over 50 countries. Many of our customers are also facing the same complex challenge. After I worked directly with this company for over a period of six months, Mr. Alexander successfully onboarded AWS onto their compliance framework, approving all major workloads for use on AWS globally. This is a big win for the bank and, of course, a big win for AWS. I'm Chad Woolf, the Director of Risk and Compliance for AWS. I've spent the last 15 years in being a security auditor, a security products manager, an IT consultant, and now at AWS, an advocate for our customers in understanding how to better manage security and compliance in a scalable, repeatable way. Every day, I work directly with customers who are innovating in security and compliance on our platform. Every day, I see how our customers have taken our software and tools and created a centralized compliance framework that is much more secure and compliant than they could do on their own premise. I'd like to talk a little bit about moving regulated workloads into AWS by adopting a layered security assurance approach to validating cloud controls and building a testable control framework in the AWS cloud. I'm obviously biased. I'm very proud of what we've done at AWS and very proud of the framework that I manage. But these concepts can be applied to any cloud environment, regardless of the service provider you use. First, I would like the clicker. Is the clicker? Oh, here it is. I'd like to talk a little bit about industries and what they're doing with regulated workloads. There we go. Some of the industries using AWS for critical and regulated workloads are some of the following. These are a few case studies that I pulled off of the Amazon Web Service case study pages. They're listed on the slide. Bristol Myers Squibb, a pharmaceutical company based in the U.S., uses the AWS Cloud for clinical trial simulation and to boost productivity and reduce costs. NASA JPL uses AWS for Mars exploration and is leading the way for the adoption of cloud computing for the U.S. federal government. NASDAQ Security Exchange Platform developed FinCloud, running on AWS to provide efficient storage and management of financial data. Generativa in Brazil. They produce ERP solutions for local government and uses AWS to collect information from 70 municipalities and to consolidate it for testing and production. Ericsson in Sweden, providers of technology and services to telecom operators, they're using AWS for several software as a service initiatives and for internal IT use. SAP in Germany uses AWS to certify and deploy SAP software in the AWS cloud. Lamborghini in Italy used AWS to deploy new IT architecture. Banro Corp It's a Canadian company operating in Africa, a gold mining company doing exploration. They rolled out key organizational systems, including ERP, workflow systems, email systems, data warehouses, and reporting tools for the teams in the Congo. Aegis Technology in China, a sensor provider of fingerprint biometrics and data encryption, specializing in integrated turnkey solutions. They deployed web apps on AWS. Data Security Systems Solutions, DS3 in Singapore, is now owned by Gemalto. They deploy authentication servers to banks and financial institutions. They use AWS for authentication and transaction authorization services. Shine Technology in Australia specializes in billing applications for the utilities industry. They use AWS to support its Oracle-based billing applications. They moved a 10-year-old database to AWS and significantly reduced processing time. The unique thing about every one of these companies is that they are all putting regulated workloads on AWS. Well, except for Lamborghini, I put that up there because I like Lamborghini. I used to live in Italy. But these companies and many more are figuring out how to move regulated workloads in a secure and very compliant way, and in a way that does not slow down their business. On July 11th, 2013, the Dutch National Bank, a regulator of the Netherlands banks, approved the use of AWS, all services provided by AWS for the Dutch financial sector. This is the same move that other financial orgs using AWS have done, including Bank Inter in Spain, Unicredit in Italy, and the Commonwealth Bank of Australia. The approval comes with some stipulations on risk management and the requirement to work with DNB to use the cloud services, but it is a key milestone for us because a regulator is forming some structure and is providing a practical approach in dealing with the cloud providers. They are far ahead of some other bodies who may be addressing cloud from a central policy perspective, but are far from providing the means and the ways to, for their covered entities to use the cloud. The DNB recognized this shared responsibility and the shared risk of cloud computing. I'm going to touch on this shared responsibility model here. For purposes of this discussion, I'll focus on the perspective of the model as it pertains to AWS. But in any cloud provider, the customers have a responsibility to understand what they're responsible for in securing the workload and what the cloud provider is responsible for. In the case of AWS, we operate, manage, and control the components from the host operating system, the hypervisor, the virtualization layer, down to the security of the facilities in which these services operate. Customers are then responsible for the security of anything their organization puts in their AWS and or the connection to these AWS assets, such as the guest operating system, the data and objects that they store in our service. Understanding the shared responsibility in the model of security, and in turn the operation of controls, is required to effectively understand and evaluate your organization's security posture. So where do you begin? Let's talk about the layered security assurance approach. First, identify your cloud boundary. What services are you using? What are the existing and proposed cloud services that your organization is utilizing? For example, are you using compute, storage, network, and database services? As you build your security risk assessment, the types of services will allow you to identify the additional risks and internally identify the controls that you need to have in place. The second thing is, what is the business case or the use case? What is your organization's use case for using the cloud? This is a critical step as well, because as it is a key driver in determining the risk exposure associated with your key risks. Oh, there. Oops. Okay. All right. Once you've identified your existing control objectives and you've understood the controls and the services you're going to be using, you then need to begin the process of building out a layered control framework. Using this approach that I have here, you can be more secure on AWS and have greater control over your IT assets in AWS. This is possible because of two reasons. The first is that the AWS platform itself is very secure. When a car manufacturer builds a car, they build in a lot of security features to accommodate a wide range of driving scenarios. The manufacturer invests an enormous amount in making sure the cars are safe. They do this because their investment in safety design benefits everyone who happens to drive the car. The safety features are tested and the results are published to prove to everyone that they meet or exceed safety requirements. Similarly, Amazon scale allows significantly more investment in security processes and tooling than most large companies would afford themselves. We invest an enormous amount in making our platform very secure. Our safety design and implementation benefits everybody who uses the platform. And we can prove we're secure through this independent testing. We invest in a broad range of audits and certifications that are published to show our customers that we are serious about building a robust security environment in our infrastructure and in our services. Our reports allow you to prove to yourselves and other stakeholders in your company, your auditors, your regulators, that the platform is secure and that it is proven to be secure by several independent external auditors, ranging from financial auditors to payment card auditors to government regulators. The reports you can request today provide you with an enormous amount of transparency into how our platform is secured. I'll call your attention to our compliance website. For more information, it's aws.amazon.com/compliance. We call this security or compliance of the cloud because it is the security you inherit by simply being on the platform. You don't pay extra for security, you get it as part of the integral part of the service. So the second reason you can be more secure on AWS is because the services we provide and the innovative features we build into our services give you the automated software you need to centrally enforce security policy. It's no secret that AWS innovates and is at an astounding rate. In 2011, we released over 80 significant services and features. In 2012, nearly 160. And in 2013, we're on track to release well over 200. These tools are being released allow not only your developers and engineers to rapidly scale in the environment and manage IT, but many of these releases are security specific and in many ways advance customers' governance capability in AWS in some material way. Some of these features addressed the core needs of security and compliance teams. You could classify them in the following three categories: cross-service controls, service-specific controls, and then optimized network operating system application controls. I'm going to talk about these controls in the next few slides, but the suite of features and security capabilities allow you to centrally control your environment. It's true automated governance, enforced centrally, and does not rely on manual processes and checks. It does not rely on best efforts of the people that are using the service. It is visible, testable, automated, centralized controls. Oops. Okay. I think I'm on. Okay. So to talk about the controls around the service providers, there's the controls you identify, the industry standards you're subject to, and then you validate those controls that we operate using the reports and certifications that we provide. Interesting comment about this. Last week, the European Union Agency for Network and Information Security, ENISA, released a new document titled Auditing Security Measures. We spoke a little bit about it yesterday. The paper does a great job giving an overview of the different range of audit schemes which actors and roles are involved. They don't address specific audit, cloud-specific audit programs per se, but many of the schemes discussed are used by cloud providers such as AWS. And most of the programs we manage in our governance framework actually are reflected in this document. The document has an interesting ending paragraph that I would actually like to read. Compliance burden and entry barriers. An important goal of the EU member states and the European Commission is to foster innovation. It is important to take into account the effect of a high compliance burden on small providers. Large incumbent providers have the resources and arguably the need to set up advanced and sophisticated governance processes. For these incumbents, it is relatively easy to partake in one or more elaborate audit frameworks. But for a smaller provider, and even a single audit could already be prohibitively costly. In general, it is more important to take into account the impact of legislation on innovation and competition, and be particularly careful when obliging providers across a sector to submit a fixed set of audit requirements or partake in a specific audit framework. So in this it says that it is arguable that the large providers have the resources and the need to set up advanced and sophisticated governance processes. I would also argue that all providers have basically done this, and it is unarguable that this is the current state for AWS. I know this because I manage our governance process. This statement solidifies the argument that a small software as a service cloud provider who is doing innovative things with a diverse range of workloads would benefit greatly from building their solution on a large provider with, quote, advanced and sophisticated governance processes. They remain, a small company remains able to innovate while at the same time inheriting an enormous investment in security and a comprehensive governance framework. Okay, I'll talk a little bit about these cross-service controls. Cross-service controls are features that go across all cloud services. So in an example for AWS, that would be something like identity and access management controls. Amazon provides a feature called multi-factor authentication. This feature provides an extra level of security that will comply to your entire AWS environment, not just a specific service. These kind of cross-service security control features give you some advanced capabilities to centrally manage the security of your AWS assets, understanding what you have out there and how they are controlled across the board. Service-specific controls, consider these controls like, if you're familiar with AWS, simple storage service, our regular storage service has a feature called server-side encryption. The SSE option encrypts data at rest, stored at rest in Amazon S3. So this is a great service-specific central control that is easy to implement as checking a box or configuring a setting. In the example of server-side encryption, this one single setting allows you to encrypt all of the data sitting in your durable storage. And the third section, the fourth section here, traditional functions that you have to manage anyway, like patching an operating system, can be optimized by AWS. So for example, if you required a certified and hardened operating system to be used throughout your environment, you can create a gold virtual image private to your organization and enforce the use of that image for all instances. In this case, you could centrally control what images your people start with and then use legacy tools to monitor and patch those images. All in, the suite of advanced governance capabilities allows you to do what you've been hoping to be able to do, establish a high level of control over your cloud environment, making it better and more secure with one, all the security investment AWS offers with the platform itself, and two, with the security services, features, and tools provided by the service. This allows you to create a secure container that will scale with your use and growth of the cloud. Once the layered framework is in place, using the services you require, using new services require minimal incremental review. Each time you expand the scope and use of a service, then you don't have to reassess the entire control stack. Only the new service-specific controls and new customer asset controls need to be evaluated. Key takeaways. Global companies are innovating on AWS with regulated data. They're innovating regardless of how many standards or policies or guidelines they have, and they're being very successful at it. You can be more secure in the AWS cloud by using the secure AWS cloud infrastructure and using the automated software controls that the AWS service provides. And this layered security assurance provides an effective approach to cloud security. There's more information available on our website. Again, aws.amazon.com/compliance, the risk and compliance white paper, the auditing security checklist for AWS for those using AWS, and more security information about our environment. Thank you.